Dear Sheikh Saeed, Alhamdulillah, you welcome to India, and we are very happy you are visiting here in Kerala and all our institutions. Now we are humbly requesting yourself to explain your boyhood, childhood, how it was, where you born, how you brought up, in briefly, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala sayyidil mursaleen. After thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending our salutations to our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallama, I will go in brief. I was born on the 8th of December 1989 in Arusha, a region in Tanzania, closer to Kenya. I was born in a hospital known as Mount Meru, regional hospital, Mount Meru Hospital at night. When I was born, the doctors, according to the checkups, they had to tell my parents that I am not alive. I wasn't born alive because I did not show any sign of life. I did not cry, nor display any sort of movement. So the doctors thought and assumed that I was dead. And therefore they suggested my father to go home and start the burial preparations. My father went back home and came back to the hospital, and then they took my body. In other words, I should say they took me, wrapped me around in a cloth. On their way back home, I sneezed and started crying. It was surprising, so they had to return back to the hospital and inquire from the doctors as to what happened. When the doctors checked me up, it was confirmed that I was alive. And then after a few days, I was baptized in the Pentecost Assemblies of God Church. It was our village church in Mererani village, Arusha region, Mererani village. Pentecost Assemblies of God, and I was named Joseph. My father's name was Mr. John Edward, and my mother's name was Rose Melita Kaya. She belonged to a very respected rank of Mr. Kaya. And then I will go in brief. When I turned 3 years old, there are things that I'm skipping due to the time. When I turned 3 years old, it was heard from my mouth Arabic-like words. Now, because my parents were not Muslims, they could not know if either this was Quran or Hadith. So therefore, according to their assumption, anybody speaking Arabic-like words has evil spirits. They had to start praying for me. I'm in a Christian family with Christian parents, but I'm reciting Arabic-like words, so it was as if I was possessed by the devils and evil spirits. They had to start praying for me. But whenever they used to start the prayers, I should cry out loud and disturb the prayers. They even called our village pastor. His name was Reverend Johnson. He came home and started praying for me. Whenever the prayer started, I should cry out loud until the prayers get disturbed. So my father got touched with my crying because it wasn't natural crying. And he thought that the prayers should wait for a while and look for another alternative to solve this problem. But my mother, as a loyal Christian, she insisted for the prayers to carry on until the evil spirits get casted out of me. Then there was a little clash between my father and my mother, to an extent that my mother got so disappointed that she uttered some words that were dangerous to my life and well-being. Then seeing this, my father decided to snatch me away from Arusha, taking me to Dar es Salaam, to my cousin sister, Maryam Saidi Melita Kaya.
While you was around 3 years?
While I was around 3 years old. Maryam was a Muslim. How was she a Muslim? She was a Muslim because her father, Mr. Saidi Melita Kaya, converted to Islam. His name was Jeremiah Melita Kaya.
Okay.
But he was working as a station master in a railway corporation. He wanted to get married to a Muslim woman. He converted to Islam, and therefore Maryam was born in a Muslim family. So my father handed me over to a Muslim because they, as Christian, they could no longer.
So you
stay
brought
with
up
me.
in Dar es Salaam.
And then I grew
So
up in
when
Dar es
you
Salaam.
started to Islamic Dawah, and where was your first lecture to the public audience?
As I was staying with my sister, she heard the Quran and the Hadith, because she's a Muslim. She knew what is this. I could differentiate between halal and haram. She was surprised, so she took me to a nearby masjid, a local masjid, and informed the imam of the masjid. The imam of the masjid was also surprised with all these facts, and then they sat down, Maryam, my brother-in-law, her husband, and the imam of the masjid, because at that time I was from 3 to 4 years old. They thought it is dangerous for me to go around on my own. My brother-in-law was working, a local businessman, had to work 24/7 to put bread on the table. Maryam is a woman, so they had to look for somebody to look after me.
Okay.
Yeah, then my first masjid, when I turned 5 years old, my first masjid was in Temeke district in Dar es Salaam, known as Masjid Tungi.
Where you delivered the first
I
lecture?
delivered a lecture.
Okay. So what about your parents now? They are still with you? Yeah, they are in Arusha.
Now, my parents now, they moved from
Reverted to
Arusha
Islam.
to Dar es Salaam after converting to Islam. They converted to Islam in 1999 to 1998. Both of them, alhamdulillah, converted to Islam, and they moved from Arusha.
Only after 10
Now
years,
yeah.
when you was around 10.
Yeah.
And now what are the activities you are in the Dawah field doing?
Currently, I registered an organization, a trust fund, this year, and I have the registration certificate with me here, as known as Said John Dawah Trust Fund. Why I registered this organization? Because ever since we started doing Dawah, we were doing it the normal, local, rural way, going from one village to another. That time we had no knowledge of cyberspace and cyber networking. We just used to go face to face. Now, when I came back from South Africa, I had seen the importance of registering an organization that will work in the Dawah project globally and internationally, as efficient as possible, so that this Dawah and the message of Islam can reach to everybody in all the parts of the world.
Up to now, how many countries you visited regarding this Dawah activities, and approximately how many lectures you delivered, any gatherings, and how many Muslims, how many people they reverted to Islam through you?
Lectures are unaccountable. Lectures were because we used to go from one village to another, and in each village we used to stay at least 3 days. So lectures are unaccountable. Countries I visit: Tanzania, almost all of it, Dodoma, Morogoro, almost all of Tanzania, besides some few regions. Malawi, the entire country of Malawi, all the villages, besides one district known as Nkatabe. We did not have the chance to go there. Mozambique, the entire country of Mozambique, from A to Z, all the 10 regions of Mozambique. Kenya, few districts in Kenya. Uganda, few districts in Uganda, and as well as South Africa, Cape Town for a short while.
So what is your opinion regarding the Kerala after your landing in India? How the activities in our region, what you are feeling?
Honestly speaking, before I visited India, whenever I used to hear the word India, I always used to think of Hindus. That's what we know there in Africa. But as soon as I landed Kerala, I saw the vibe of Islam in Kerala, the progress of Islam in Kerala, how ulamas are running Islamic activities. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, is more than what I have ever imagined, because we don't have these kinds of institutes in our countries. So this is, mashallah, is supernatural.
And what is your opinion regarding Sheikh Abu Bakr, and how you are feeling about his leadership here in Indian Muslims?
My opinion regarding our Fadilah Sheikh Abu Bakr, as far as I know, for what he is doing, and I repeat again, I'm not speaking this because I came under him. No, I'm speaking this because of what he has done and what he is doing. Honestly speaking, from the bottom of my heart, what he has done is supernatural. MashaAllah, is for the progress of Islam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him in this dunya and in the hereafter. What he is doing is supernatural, and Allah give him long life, Allah give him more strength to continue doing what he is doing. Of course, I know there will be people who will be against him. I understand that there are people who are against me too. There are people who were against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam too. So there will, wherever there is positive, there has to be negative. There will be people who will be against him, but it does not matter. For so long as what he is doing is right, he is doing for the sake of Allah, he is propagating Islam, may Allah give him more strength and more ithbat.
So what is your message from Tanzania and from African Muslims to the Indian Muslims?
My message from African Muslims to the Indian Muslims, briefly, is that we are humbly requesting for a joint venture. We are humbly requesting for a joint venture. We also love, I feel jealous of the progress of Muslims of Kerala. I also love to have institutions like this in my country, because there in Tanzania, only missionaries and Christians run these kind of institutions. Muslims there are weak. Muslims are du'afa. We don't have any progress when it comes to Islam educationally and financially.
In Bezi, that is the Jamia Nuriya Islamic Education Complex, with the help of Indian community.
Yes.
You know, a lot of Saidi and Saqafi and some ulamas came already from India, and they are working in your country. So inshallah, whatever it is the cooperation, we are also happy to do the Islamic activities and dawah work with their cooperation.